Alright, so I thought I'd update the offensive tier list since we know a good bit of how Absorbing Man and Zemo turned out, so obviously they could change, and my tier list definitely isn't the tier list you might want to go to automatically, but it's what my opinions are on this game, so there you can see what they are. I'll show the whole tier list. I'll also put a link in the description and the comment section so you can go see it for yourself from there. I also have these 10 things that'll help you understand what these numbers are. Like, for instance, Diablo, I think he needs to be awakened, so he has the number 1. I also think he needs recoil masteries, or it's nice to have them, so he gets a 7. For instance, that's what that's going to mean. So, let's start with Absorbing Man. Absorbing Man, he's got some really cool stuff going for him. I think the best things about Absorbing Man are his immunities and the ability to reduce the duration of Unstoppable, Unblockable, Immortality, and Indestructible buffs by 90%. And those things alone just are incredible to have. Plus his damage is usually really good. And then it's kind of ridiculous and broken when he's got, in certain situations in the game, like when his armor break immunity triggers, so. I think I'm gonna put him here. I think that's where he's gonna go. He could go higher. I don't think he's gonna go lower though. So I'm gonna put him there. In this tier, I think he's better than Swidgel, he's better than Longshot, he's better than Juggy, and he's better than Mordo, and he's better than Dragon. I think Rintra is the only one here that is better than Absorbing Man, and if that's the case, then he's a top 5 Mystic. So that's my opinions on Absorbing Man. For the keys, I think he kind of needs High Sig. Well, he doesn't need it. I don't know. I'm gonna give him this because the regen and some other abilities in the Awaken ability are really nice to have. He also needs High Skill, in my opinion, because you want to find a way to weave in your light attacks in intercepts and heavy counters, and needs practice is going to be a 3, so add a 3. He doesn't need synergies, he doesn't specialize in only Abyss or Labyrinth, he doesn't need recoil, so I think this is what I'm going to leave him as, and that's where Absorbing Man's getting placed. Baron Zemo is very different than what I'm going to say for Absorbing Man, because Absorbing Man I feel like is going to solve a lot of problems with this game. Baron Zemo, I don't see any purpose in using him, if I'm being honest, and which is a shame, because before he came out, he was my second most wanted character to be added to the game. First was Bullseye, but he lost the vote, so that's a little disappointing. But Baron Zemo, I just don't see a place for him in the game, because if you want to go into Labyrinth, which is where he's best at, there's just better options. There's obviously Aegon, there's Crossbones, there's Nick Fury, which does well in the Abyss. In the skill class, those are just 3 right there, and I'm sure there's other ones. Atuma just came out, who does nice in Labyrinth as well as Zemo. I think Zemo's definitely better than Atuma. Definitely better than Atuma. His cleanse is really, really good, actually, because you're always going to have 5 at the start of the fight, and then you'll get 5 again after like 15 seconds, so it's like a 15-second cooldown, and with that cooldown you get a really potent armor up. So his cleanse ability is actually really good. Definitely not Shang-Chi level, but pretty close to Shang-Chi level, because Shang-Chi is by far the best cleanse mechanic. There's also Jabari. I don't know, there's not that many champs that have cleanse now that I think about it. But the champs that do have cleanse, it's a really, really good cleanse mechanic. Well, Black Cat has a really bad cleanse mechanic, but for Zemo, I think he's going here because you're not going to use him in Battlegrounds, you're not going to use him in War, if that makes sense. You're not, those two pieces of content are the most important pieces of content in the game, I think, because they're the most competitive pieces of content. And unless Kabam adds an Abyss 2, a Labyrinth 2, whatever they want to call it, he's just not going to get used very often or ever. So I'm going to put him in solid because he does have Labyrinth, he does have Abyss, where he does do pretty well. Is he going to be the most used skilled champ in the Abyss? Absolutely not, but not everyone's going to have Aegon or Nick and stuff like that. I don't think he needs his Awaken ability. I think he needs one synergy though, and that's the one with Eye-Bomb, Toad, or Man-Thing, and there's like one other champ, because it gives him a vicious passive, increasing his damage over time whenever he knocks the opponent down with a special, I think. And 50% extra bleed, and since bleed is his main source of damage, that's pretty good. One other thing about Zemo is that could make him very viable for Battlegrounds, in my opinion, is that when the opponent is immune to an effect, so in his case usually bleed, you're going to get a Fury for the next hit, and it's a really potent Fury. And because of the fact his mediums are non-contact, it makes him a really, really good Korg counter, believe it or not. And I'd like to test him against Korg myself. That would be a good video idea. Maybe I'll put that out. Maybe I'll put it out in a few days or something. I think he could do very well against Korg because of his non-contact mediums and the Fury access he has. So I'm going to put him there. I'm going to give him the Abyss or Labyrinth tag. Does he need recoil? I don't think he should use recoil because you need to use your specials quite frequently and you're in long content, so you're going to eventually die due to recoil. I think that's all I'm going to give him. I think that's fine. So yeah, that's Absorbing Man and Baron Zemo. I'll fix this later. It has to move down every time I add a new slot, but those are my opinions on Absorbing Man and Baron Zemo. And in my last tier list video, I missed a few champions in the tier list, but they should all be in there now. If there's more that I missed, I'm sorry, just comment, I'll put it in there. I think the ones I missed was Angela, CMM, Weapon Flex, Stealthy, which ironically they all landed in this crazy good tier. So, yeah, there might be other ones that I was told that I missed, but they should all be in the tier list now. So, that's all for me, and if you have different opinions on the two new champions, feel free to tell me. I'd love to hear it. So